99% of men don't do this. Sounds dramatic, maybe, but let me ask you, how many men do you know who seem to have it all on paper, yet still struggle to form a connection that actually sticks? It's not about money, not status, not even raw confidence. The truth is, most men overlook something far more powerful: the invisible language of subtle emotional influence, small gestures, silent presence, unspoken understanding. These are the things women crave, not loudly, but deeply. And today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on what those 99% miss. This isn't your usual pickup advice. This is about alignment, emotional depth, self-awareness, and the kind of masculine presence that makes a woman feel seen without being overwhelmed, chosen without being chased. What if you could unlock the subconscious triggers that quietly pull her in, not by forcing attraction, but by mastering the energy you carry into every room? If that excites you, like this video, subscribe if you're ready to rise above average, and comment below, "I'm done chasing, I choose to attract with presence." Number 1. When silence speaks louder than style. The hidden language that captivates women. What if attraction wasn't about the words you say, but about the stillness between them? Picture a man in a room full of noise, people posturing, showing off, chasing validation. Yet he stands at the edge, calm, composed, present. He speaks little, but when he moves, people notice, not because he demands attention, but because his presence commands it. That man understands something 99% of others don't. The most powerful signals don't come from what you say, they come from what you radiate. This is the forgotten art of subtle gestures, a language spoken not with lips, but with awareness, timing, and restraint. In a culture that screams louder to be seen, the men who leave the deepest imprint are those who whisper with their energy. Stoicism, long misinterpreted as emotional coldness, is in truth a furnace of self-mastery. It teaches us that power isn't volume, it's intensity contained. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be one. Don't argue what a good man should be it." These subtle actions, non-verbal cues, grounded behaviors, and intentional stillness are the embodiment of that principle. In today's world, many men try to impress with flashy confidence, money, or exaggerated charm, but these signals don't reach the part of a woman that actually forms emotional bonds, her subconscious. The truth is, what makes you unforgettable is not your looks, your job, or even your jokes. It's how your presence makes her feel without trying to impress her. Jung referred to this as the power of the unconscious. The invisible field between two people carries more emotional weight than words ever could. Plato called it self-knowledge, the ability to be so deeply grounded in who you are that others feel it without needing proof. These 7 secrets you're about to discover aren't tactics. They are expressions of alignment, gestures that naturally emerge from men who embody calm, clarity, and quiet intensity. They don't speak louder, they listen more, they don't perform, they observe. And because of that, they become the minority of men who are remembered not for what they did, but for how they made a woman feel without touching ego or script. What's powerful is that these gestures are accessible to any man. They don't require wealth, beauty, or charisma. They only require presence, a disciplined mind, a body that doesn't fidget, eyes that don't flinch, and a voice that doesn't seek permission. Let's be honest, in a world drowning in noise, a man who knows how to wield silence becomes irresistible. And the ones who truly get this don't need to chase. They let attraction come to them. So this is your invitation not to become someone new, but to peel away the layers that make you forget who you are. Each of these secrets is a window into a new kind of power, the kind rooted in ancient philosophy, lived in modern relationships, and felt before it's ever understood. This isn't about tricking women into liking you. It's about becoming the man who no longer needs to be liked to be remembered. Now ask yourself, are you ready to let go of performance and embody presence? Are you ready to be part of the 1% who attract without effort, because their energy is already the invitation? Number 2. The gesture she never forgets, a simple touch that speaks to her nervous system. She walks in, looking radiant but tense. Maybe it's the stress of her day, or the invisible armor women wear in a world that demands constant performance. You sit beside her, calm. She talks. You listen, and then, in a quiet moment, you reach out not with desire but with stillness, and gently place your hand on her shoulder. You seem tense, let me help. That moment rewires her body, because unlike most men who rush toward physicality for their own validation, you just touched her in a way that made her feel safe without needing anything in return. This is the power of non-sexual, intentional touch before intimacy, not as foreplay, not as a move, but as a signal that says, I am here, I notice, you can let go now. In Stoicism, this gesture is more than physical. It's an extension of presence. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, be one. In other words, don't separate who you are from what you do. Don't act kind, be kind. Don't mimic groundedness, embody it. The average man uses his hands to grasp. The Stoic man uses his hands to anchor energy. From a psychological perspective, this kind of touch activates oxytocin, the hormone of trust. It tells her nervous system, you are not alone, you are held. And in a world where most men touch to take, this alone sets you apart. Jung might describe this as tapping into the sacred masculine, not forceful, not passive, but intentionally protective. This is where women connect with men, not in the bedroom, but in the moments just before, where tension is replaced with peace, and her defenses melt without effort. Let's ground this in reality. You're on a date. You notice her shoulders are slightly hunched. You gently reach and apply light pressure, not with technique, but with calm. You say, you seem tense, let me help. Then offer just enough touch to create relaxation, not stimulation. And then you let it go. No agenda, no escalation. What she remembers won't be the massage. It'll be the emotional safety she felt in your presence. That's what makes you linger in her memory, not for what you wanted, but for how she felt when you didn't need anything at all. Reed would describe this as emotional leadership, the ability to hold space for a woman without controlling her. And that's what truly makes her trust you, not your confidence, not your compliments, but the absence of pressure wrapped in presence. This is where most men fail. They touch with intention to escalate. You touch with the intention to connect, and that difference changes everything. From the Stoic lens, Seneca said, be in the moment. This means your hands should be an extension of your stillness, not your impulse. They should ground her, not ignite her defensiveness. Here's how to practice this. Affirm before any date, I connect through presence. Pay attention to nonverbal cues, posture, size, hesitations. Offer a simple gesture of care, then release. Let your silence do more than your words ever could. Because ultimately, what you touch with presence, you leave a mark on, not just on skin, but in memory. Number 3, flirting like a Stoic. The art of play without performance. She tells you she loves sushi. You raise an eyebrow, lean back slightly, smirk, and say, really, that's your best? I thought you had more game than that. She laughs, and just like that, the air between you shifts, not because you tried to impress her, but because you dared to play without chasing. This is confident, respectful flirting, the kind that creates chemistry without pressure. And while most men either go too soft or too hard, the Stoic man dances that middle line with calm delight. Why does it work? Because in a world full of overcompensating nice guys and aggressive try-hards, a man who flirts just for the joy of the moment becomes magnetic. He's not seeking validation. He's not testing her. He's simply expressing presence through light, sharp, playful tension. Epictetus said, focus only on what you control. And in flirting, what you control isn't her reaction, it's your energy. When you flirt without attachment, you're no longer performing, you're enjoying. You're not saying, like me, you're saying, I'm already full and I enjoy this moment with you. This flips the dynamic, Because when a woman senses that you're not invested in the outcome, but fully invested in your presence, she doesn't feel chased, she feels drawn in. Let's break it down practically. She says something like, "I always win at poker." You tease. "Remind me never to trust your confidence." You pause. Let the silence breathe and smile without waiting for her to react. Then you shift topics, letting the moment linger like perfume in the air. This is emotional sparring without ego, a rhythm without a script, and it tells her, "I'm not here to prove myself, I'm here to enjoy what unfolds." Jung might call this the integration of the shadow, the ability to express boldness without turning it into dominance. It's controlled fire, the flame that warms, not burns. From Plato's view, this is truth-seeking play. You're using words not to dominate, but to see how she dances with your energy, and that dance creates polarity. Reed explains it best. Masculine charm comes from being unfazed. You tease, but you don't depend. You lead the energy, not chase the reaction. And this shows emotional maturity, a trait far more attractive than polished lines or forced jokes. Here's the key. This style of flirting only works if your body is in sync with your spirit. Eye contact should be relaxed, not intense. Smiles should be genuine, not forced. Your pause should say, "I enjoy this," not "please laugh." And when she pushes back, because she will, you meet it with calm curiosity, not defense. She says, "Oh, really? You think you're smooth?" You reply, "Not smooth, just dangerously observant." Then you smirk, and the rhythm continues. Your affirmation here is simple. I flirt for joy, not approval. Because when you flirt from fullness, not need, you don't just entertain her, you awaken something deeper. And in that moment, you're not the guy trying to win her. You're the man reminding her how good it feels to be around someone who already knows he's enough. Now, comment below. I flirt for joy, not validation. Number 4. The hair touch. A gesture that lingers in her memory longer than words. She's laughing at something you said, her posture open, eyes soft. A strand of hair falls gently across her face. Most men wouldn't notice, but you do. Without hesitation, you reach out, brush it gently away, and say, "It was in your way." You don't follow it with a compliment. You don't turn it into a move. You let the moment breathe, and she feels something stir, not in her mind, but in her nervous system. This is the hidden power of timing the right touch. Not grabbing, not initiating physicality for desire, but showing presence through a small act of attention that signals, "I see you." The scalp, psychologically and neurologically, is one of the most sensitive areas of the body. A subtle touch there, when the emotional energy is right, creates intimacy faster than words ever could. But the Stoic doesn't touch for outcome. He touches for alignment. Epictetus said, "Act only when it is necessary and right." That applies here more than anywhere else, because if you touch her hair too soon, it's invasive, too late, and it feels forced. But when timed with precision, when she's relaxed, open, and feeling safe, that tiny gesture becomes unforgettable. From Jungian psychology, this moment represents what he called a numinous spark, a symbol-laden action that awakens the unconscious bond between two people. When done with intention, it bypasses rational thought and speaks directly to her emotional body. And in that moment, she stops wondering what kind of man you are. She knows. Here's how it plays out. You're sitting close, conversation flowing naturally. She leans forward slightly. A strand of hair slips into her face. You gently tuck it behind her ear or brush it aside. You hold eye contact just long enough not to dominate, but to ground the moment. And then you go back to the conversation as if nothing happened. Because you're not doing it for effect. You're doing it because it felt right. And that's what makes it work. Reed would describe this as a moment of masculine curation, the ability to create emotional contrast through subtle leadership. You didn't ask, you didn't hesitate, you noticed, acted, and stayed centered. That's what builds trust and magnetism. From a Stoic perspective, this gesture is mastery in motion. Seneca taught that true presence is not revealed in grand acts, but in the calm fluency of small behaviors done well. The touch isn't about technique, it's about timing, energy, and silence. So how do you apply this practically? Don't plan for the gesture, prepare your presence. When she's genuinely engaged, comfortable, and laughing, notice the small details. If the moment opens itself, act with softness, not intent. Don't follow it with flirtation. Let the quiet tension do the work. Affirmation: I act with intent, not impulse. Because when you touch with calm confidence, you awaken something deeper than excitement. You awaken trust. And the truth is, she may not even remember the topic you were discussing, but weeks later, in the quiet moments before sleep, she'll recall one thing: how it felt when you gently moved her hair and said nothing at all. Now speak out and comment below. I act with intent, not impulse. Number 5. The Quiet Guide. How a hand on her back communicates leadership without a word. You're walking together into a crowded space, a busy cafe, a dim restaurant, or a narrow hallway. As she steps forward, you gently place your hand on the small of her back, not to steer, not to dominate, but to signal that she is with a man who leads with calm certainty. No words, no explanation, just a gesture. And in that split second, something ancient awakens in her: safety, trust, direction. This is one of the most underestimated gestures in attraction. Not because it's subtle, but because it's often misunderstood. A hand on the lower back is not about possession. It's about protective presence, a signal of emotional gravity, a quiet leadership that says, you're not alone. I'm aware. I move forward with you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, be one, be complete. That means every action you take reflects who you are. If you are grounded, composed, and aware, this small touch becomes a silent message. You can relax, I've got this. Women don't just look for protectors in moments of danger, they sense them in how you move, in how you walk ahead without leaving her behind, in how your hand touches not with possession, but with intention and awareness. Psychologically, studies have shown that subtle physical cues, like guiding a partner through a doorway, build what researchers call relational trust anchors. It communicates strength without dominance and presence without pressure. Let's bring this into a real-world scenario. You're entering a crowded place. You move slightly ahead and place your hand gently on her back as she walks in. You guide just enough to say this way, then release. You don't explain it, you don't emphasize it, you simply embody it. And here's the truth. She won't even think about it consciously, but her nervous system will remember it. Because you didn't just walk beside her, you carried the frame. From Jung's lens, this gesture speaks to the archetype of the protector king, a man whose power comes not from control, but from invisible emotional structure. He doesn't shout, he doesn't ask for recognition, he leads by moving in sync with the environment. Reed calls this masculine polarity at its finest: directional, calm, unfazed. And in the Stoic worldview, this is the embodiment of self-command. Epictetus reminds us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And in moments like these, you do just that, not with words, but with grounded motion. Here's how to build this into your daily interactions. Practice being spatially aware of others. Notice how people move, pause, react when walking with a woman. Don't rush ahead or lag behind sync with her energy. When needed, place your hand on her lower back for just a second, light, grounded, and gone. Never linger, never force. Let it be effortless. Your affirmation: I lead with ease. Because when your body reflects calm leadership, you don't need to say much. She'll feel it in how you walk, how you guide, and how you never lose presence. This is what separates the 1% of men from the rest. Not muscles, not money, not manipulation. Just the quiet strength of a man who leads without needing to declare it. Now, speak out and comment below. I lead with ease, no force, just presence. Number 6. The Invisible Shield. How subtle acts of protection build irresistible trust. She doesn't need a hero. She doesn't want control. But when tension rises, when the room gets uncomfortable or someone crosses a line, she instinctively looks to one thing: your composure, your ability to protect quietly. Protection, in the world of real attraction, isn't about bravado or dominance. It's about small, consistent signals that say, I've got you, without making a scene about it. And that's where the Stoic man excels, not in reaction, but in response. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." And in relationships, it's your non-reactive steadiness in key moments that sets you apart from 99% of men. It's how you move when she's uncomfortable, how you speak when others disrespect her, how you remove her from chaos without drama or ego. Let's go deeper with a common scene. You're out together. Someone makes an inappropriate comment toward her. Most men either lash out or laugh it off. But you place a gentle hand on her arm, lean in, and say, let's move. No escalation, no confrontation, just protective leadership through motion. That one move, it tells her everything. That she's safe, that you're paying attention, that your presence isn't passive, it's intentional. Carl Jung would interpret this as the protector archetype in full expression, not a savior complex, but a man whose very essence communicates. Chaos may exist out there, but I don't let it touch what I value. From a psychological standpoint, these moments imprint the deepest. Studies show that women rate calm intervention in uncomfortable situations as more attractive than overt displays of power. Why? Because it signals restraint with strength, and strength with care. But subtle protection doesn't end in public, it's also in the follow-up. After a night out, you text, "Got home safe." She faces an emotional moment, you sit quietly beside her. No solutions, just stillness. She expresses a fear, you listen fully, and respond with 3 words. I've got you. This is what Stoic masculinity looks like, not cold, not reactive, but grounded and reliable. It's not about fixing everything. It's about being unshakable in her moments of vulnerability. Reed would say this creates emotional sanctuary, a space where a woman doesn't feel controlled, but feels safe to relax into her feminine energy. And in that space, true attraction deepens, not out of performance, out of polarity. Plato's ideal of the guardian applies here. He imagined a man whose strength served the community, not his own ego, and that's you. When you lead with quiet protection, here's how to practice this in daily life. Pay attention to her environment, notice what she doesn't say. Step in without drama when needed. Don't lecture, just move her gently out of tension. Follow up with small gestures, let me know you're home safe, or text me if you need anything. Above all, remain emotionally grounded. If she panics, you breathe slower, not faster. Your affirmation, I protect with calm. Because when your energy feels like a shield, not a cage, she doesn't just want you, she trusts you. And that kind of trust, it's what makes her choose you in a room full of louder, flashier, needier men. Now, comment below, I protect with calm, not control. Number 7. The dream that stays with her. How casual mystery awakens. Emotional bonding. You lean back, sip your drink, and casually say, I had a dream about you last night. Then you pause. You don't rush the details. You don't overshare. She leans in, curious, slightly thrown off. Her mind starts to wonder, what kind of dream? Why me? What does it mean? That's the moment you've already planted the seed, not in her logic, but in her emotional imagination. This is one of the most potent psychological triggers most men never use, mentioning a dream. Not to impress, not to manipulate, but to create mystery. Because when you tell a woman she appeared in your subconscious, even in the most mundane way, walking through a market, sitting by a lake, you tap into a part of her psyche that words can't reach. Epictetus said, don't beg attention, earn it through depth. And what could be deeper than suggesting that, even in your sleep? She lingered. But here's the key. It must be casual, not dramatic, not sexual, not needy. This gesture only works when it's detached and intriguing. Think of it as lighting a match and walking away. Let the flame flicker in her mind without trying to control the fire. Psychologically, this works because dreams activate the limbic system, especially when associated with another person. A woman's emotional response is shaped more by perceived connection than by facts. So when you say, "You were just sitting across from me in a cafe," felt strangely real. You're not just recalling an image, you're crafting a narrative that invites her in without pressure. Jung would call this a portal into the anima, the feminine energy archetype that yearns for emotional symbolism. You're speaking to her depth, not her surface. Let's make this real. You're mid-conversation, things are light. Say, "I had a dream about you last night," then pause. You describe something emotionally neutral but specific. For example, you were walking barefoot on a rooftop, just humming to yourself. It was peaceful. She'll likely laugh or tilt her head. Maybe she'll tease, but what she won't do is forget. Why? Because now she's wondering what she means to you, even if you never explain. This is Reid's concept of psychological pull in motion. Instead of asserting presence, you suggest it. Instead of confessing interest, you leave a thread, and she can't help but pull at it. From a Stoic lens, this is the art of sparking emotional curiosity without expectation. Seneca said, "Silence can be more powerful than speech." And in this case, mystery becomes your message. So how do you use this wisely? Only mention dreams in moments of genuine flow, not awkward setups. Keep the tone low-key, even dismissive. Let her be the one to explore. Never make the dream overtly romantic or sexual. The goal is emotional tension, not fantasy. Use it once, never repeat. The power is in the singularity. Your affirmation, "I spark curiosity, not confusion." Because the man who understands emotional timing becomes far more attractive than the man who always tries to impress. You're not giving her certainty, you're giving her something to remember. And when she lies in bed later, unsure why she's still thinking of you, it won't be the words you said. It'll be the dream she imagines you had and the feeling that some part of her already exists in your world. Now, speak out and comment below. I spark curiosity, not confusion. Number 8. The discipline in the beard. Why grooming is a subconscious signal of strength. He walks into the room not loud, not flashy, just quietly composed. His beard is neatly trimmed, edges sharp, lines intentional. Nothing is out of place. He doesn't need to say he's disciplined, you can see it on his face. For men who can grow it, a well-groomed beard isn't just style. It's a message. It says, "I care for what I can control. I present order. I live with intention." And that kind of signal taps into something deep inside the feminine psyche. Primal safety, reliability, and maturity. According to Jung, archetypes are embedded images within the collective unconscious. The bearded man has, across cultures, consistently represented wisdom, dominance, and the ability to lead through stillness, from philosophers to kings. The beard didn't just grow, it symbolized inner order. But not just any beard. A chaotic, unkempt one sends another message. I'm indifferent, unfocused, untethered. The attraction doesn't lie in facial hair itself, it lies in the care behind it. That's where Stoic discipline comes in. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, your inner world eventually appears in your outer presentation. When you groom, you're not just managing appearance, you're affirming control. And women feel that, often before they're even conscious of it. Let's bring it into practical terms. You show up with a trimmed beard, clean lines, sharp jaw. She doesn't compliment the grooming directly, but her body language changes. Tone softens. You didn't speak louder. You simply showed you're a man who notices details and respects his presence. This is subtle psychological warfare. Most men either overdo grooming, chasing trends, or neglect it entirely, resisting structure. You aim for the middle, refined but effortless, strong but clean. If you can't grow a beard, no problem. The same principle applies to any form of grooming. Keep your nails clean, your hair intentional, your scent aligned with your energy. Because women don't just see, they sense. And when your outer presence reflects inner mastery, you send this signal. I didn't just wake up like this, I live like this. From Machiavelli's lens, this is about power through subtle control, he'd say. Appearances are powerful, but they must reflect truth or they collapse. So you don't wear the beard as a costume. You maintain it as an extension of your discipline. Reed would label this as non-verbal credibility. You don't tell people you're composed, you show them. And this credibility doesn't just attract, it anchors you. Because when you care for your appearance, you tend to care for your posture, your tone, your energy. Here's how to master this. If you grow facial hair, trim weekly, use tools, learn angles, care for the edges. If you shave, do it intentionally, clean, precise. Frame your grooming ritual as a daily act of order, not vanity. Affirm each morning, my presence reflects my discipline. This subtle signal echoes Stoic philosophy. Be precise in the things you can control and indifferent to the things you can't. Your grooming isn't about being admired, it's about being aligned. Because the man who appears put together isn't always respected. But the man whose appearance matches his essence, he becomes unforgettable. Now, speak out and comment below. My presence reflects my discipline. Now you know the truth. Most men focus on what they can show, but the rare few, they focus on what they can stir within her safety. Mystery, inspiration. That's why 99% fade into the background, while 1% become unforgettable. These hidden triggers aren't tricks. They're reflections of emotional discipline. Ancient Stoics knew it. Modern science confirms it. Women are not drawn to noise. They're drawn to resonance. So before you try harder, try smarter. Stop proving yourself. Start understanding her silent language. You'll be shocked how attraction changes when you no longer need it to define you. If this shifted your mindset, like this message, subscribe for more Stoic clarity in love and power, and comment below. I become magnetic by being aligned. Don't compete with noise, become the signal.